Hi, I'm RiTika Rose. Welcome to Awaken Your Truth, where I bring conscious dialogues and stories that will help you free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. I hope to shift your perspective and create deeper understanding of yourself and others. Everyone has a story, everyone has a purpose, every experience has a reason. This show is about engaging with the truth of who you are, discovering your personal power and stepping into your authentic self, so you can have more compassion and empathy for yourself and everyone around you. It's time for us to dig deep and learn to see ourselves and others with clarity so that we can come together and create a brighter future for humanity. When we free our minds, we can heal our lives, and this is how we build a powerful, transformed world. Awaken Your Truth starts now.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. We had a great show for you today. And the reason I love this is because one of the things we're getting ready to do is RiTika Rose is getting ready to catapult the level of conscious conversation, the level of awakenings to a whole new platform. And here's what I want to say about what she does. First of all, if you've missed the Trilogy of Conscious series part 1, you'll be able to get that. It's available everywhere. All you need to do is either go to RiTika Rose, or you can, let me just give you all of the websites. You're going to be able to find that in every aspect of Transformation Talk Radio, or RiTikaRose.com, RiTika Rose.com. And the reason I'm telling you this is because, you know, working with RiTika, here's what I know. Beyond the conversation about what it means to awaken your truth. You know, this is somebody that works with people all over the world to free their minds, to heal their lives, embody their power, to do all of that. You know, when you're talking about freeing yourself, then what you're doing is you're looking at a life redefined. And what RiTika has done is created, as the founder of A Life Redefined, that organization. What she has created is a beautiful integrative life coaching and healing practice, and is the author of Tagged, You're It, Become the Leader of Your Own Life. This is a best-selling book on transpersonal psychology. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. She's also a leader and expert in transformative coaching community. So what I'm trying to say is this is part 2, but it's part 2 of a trilogy. And then what is going to happen is you're going to see the launch of an incredible show. You're going to be able to watch the show. You're going to be able to be in the conversation with RiTika about what it means to not just awaken your truth, but what does it mean to live that life redefined, but also to become the leader of your own life. What does that all mean? And as RiTika works with people everywhere around the world, as she's looking at, here I am, I'm able to help people to do higher personal success coaching. I'm here to help people get to that place they want to be in life. And by the way, this is the time for it. Today, get ready for this on this day. What are awakenings? What are they? What are awakenings? And how do they heal our lives? RiTika, this is a very important conversation today, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you so much for that beautiful intro and bringing everything together and integrating it so well.
Well, I mean, I love that we're talking about what awakenings are. And I want to really start with, you know, this idea of awakening and awakening to truth. What was this like for you? Because I know in my life, I talk about the fact that one day I was coming down my stairs in my very big house, going to my very high paying job with AT&T, and I'm coming down my stairs and I'm banging, I'm looking at the mirror that's right in the foyer, or foyer, as some people call it, as you walk out the door. And I was unrecognizable to myself. Now, that was the beginning of something. Mm-hmm. Tell me from your perspective, you know, this idea of awakening, what it is. And let's talk about how awakening is connected to truth from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. And I love this Trilogy of Conscious series that we're doing together, because it really is 3 parts, right? So again, for those that didn't listen to part 1, please go back and listen to part 1, because we talked about healing the dark night of the soul, and breaking into freedom of mind, which is sort of the first step, or sort of what happens first before we awaken, right? So it typically, before we awaken into our truth, or awaken into more of realizing who we are and our purpose in this lifetime, and you know what we're meant to do, and realizing that we really are enough, we're typically going through a phase in our life, or patterns in our life, that haven't been serving us, that have really taken us into that deep dark place of wondering, like, really who we are, why are we here, you know, what is our purpose, and just all like the sort of negative thoughts and feelings that sort of can swirl in our mind and bring on different, you know, emotional levels for us, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're in that space, something for me, right, I started questioning why. And we talked about this in the last episode. It's like, why is this happening to me, right? And that was my like breakdown moment. Like I talked about in my Los Angeles apartment, it was me and God on the floor crying, sobbing, like, why is all of this happening to me? I don't understand why. I'm seeking the certain things from my life. I'm trying my best to make them happen. I'm working hard at everything. And just like you, I was in a very successful career. I was a director of rehabilitation. I mean, I was running my largest facility at that time. I had my largest staff that I had managed. I was managing 30 people directly, and I had 105 patients on caseload. So I'm literally managing about 140 lives daily, right? And everything else that comes with the director and management role in a very large hospital, right? I also owned a movie script, and I was getting a movie made at that time, but that partnership became abusive. And so I was now running this very large facility. I was in this abusive relationship, and then I was also healing from a relationship that had ended. So my soul was like in crisis. It was like on overload, like everything was just happening at once. And I just like broke down, and I was like, because I didn't feel, although on the outside, right, everything looked great. I was in this role, I was making this money, I was living the lifestyle, I was traveling, I had the car, I had the home, I had the everything. What society wants us to have, right? Right. I was in this movie deal, like I'm making a movie in Los Angeles, you know, it's like, and the script that came, it was like everything. Oh my God, awesome. Like she has all these things going on, you know, and XYZ, but and all of these things on the outside look great, but on the inside, I wasn't feeling like I was on purpose. Like I felt like I was just going through the motions, right? And like and I was experiencing all these things that on a soul level weren't satisfying to me.
That's right.
And that was my breakdown moment, right?
That's right.
And so for those of us do awaken, I think that most of us are feeling like on that deep down soul level, like something is not aligned with our life or who we truly are. Right. We may be doing all the things and we may be great at them, but something inside of us is still not aligned, and we're seeking like the why and the purpose, right? So then when I awoke, I realized that this wasn't all happening to me, it was happening for me, because everything that I was going through was leading me into the next purpose and mission that I was to follow, the next part of my journey, right? And so like we talked about in the last episode, like I felt like my transformation periods are every 10 years, right? So that was like a 10-year transformation period for me. I'm in another one now.
Yeah.
Right. So again, as the listeners will know, I talk a lot. So, but yeah, so that was sort of like the extended version to the answer of the question. But, you know, so awakenings really are like this profound energetic shift within us, right? When we awaken, we change how we operate in the world. We become more conscious about who we are, about the world around us. We integrate ourselves and how we are our behaviors and our relationships with others on a different level.
Yeah.
Right. So we really begin to just start moving into like mastery of ourselves and full empowerment of ourselves. And that really is operating in our truth and operating in full integrity of ourselves.
Yeah. And don't you feel in this conversation, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, don't you also feel that there is that moment we get to where we know that we are literally in the middle of the moment of it? And what do I mean by that? And I wonder if you have felt this way as well, where you realize that something is coming in and giving you information, something that you can't see. We call it spiritual, right? Some people call it spiritual. There's a whole lot of words, but the point is it's an energy.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reason I want to talk with you about this is because sometimes all the material things we have, and I'm not saying they're bad. I mean, I think about the universe as a benevolent universe. I think about it as an abundant universe. And I think about it as, oh my goodness, here are all these things for us to create and manifest. Why would they be available to us if not to use and put to good use? See, that's my thinking. But here's a question for you. There was a moment that I looked into Miracle that I was touched by something, right? Now, I don't mean touched mentally. I mean touched by something. Something came into my being in that moment that changed the trajectory of how I was going to behave. Did that happen for you?
Absolutely. It was, so that night happened, and then I awoke, and like I say, I woke the next morning a different person. I don't know what happened. It literally was this deep shift, like something lifted out of me and came in, and all the people that I needed to work with to heal everything that I was feeling at that time just sort of rushed in, right? And so that's where my, personal growth, personal development, and really my spiritual work, diving deeper into myself and my truth came in, right? And we're going to talk later in the show about the book, but it really is through all of that, the life mastery skills that I realized I was starting to incorporate into my life now after I awoke, that now I put into this book. But that transformative period that you're talking about was really when I was in prayer and meditation one day, and I was connecting very strongly with my spiritual guides, my angels, God, etc. Right? I was really starting to hear them and really feel it deeply in my being, right? What they were saying to me. And in prayer and meditation one day, I literally heard the voice, you were created out of love.
Yeah.
You are loved.
Yeah.
Right? And literally they said to me, your mission now is to lead with truth and love. And from that minute on, when I heard that in my prayer and meditation, and that was 10 years ago, everything shifted. And that has been my mission from then on, is to really promote truth and love. That is the truth about ourselves, who we are, that it's absolutely okay to be who you are, right? And also, and what my show really is going to be about, is helping people to understand the truth about others, right? We miss that a lot in our society, unfortunately. Right? But the more we dive into ourselves and the more we really step into our truth, the more we can start seeing everybody else's truth too. And then that's where more of the love and acceptance starts to come in. Right?
Yeah. I mean, let's take a moment and talk about this if we could. And, I'm thinking what I want to do is just keep rolling if it's okay with you, and go ahead and skip this break, because there's a few more things I want to talk about. And I want to really drive this point home. I don't know about you, but I'm getting sort of, let's just call it another awakening now. And the awakening that I'm getting now is fascinating, and it's not new. And let me tell you what I mean. I think that you and we have gone on this path, and you're going to talk about the book today, because I think it's important to talk about the book today. But there is a new lesson, and it's called Everything is Energy.
Yeah.
I know that sounds simple, right? Right.
Everything really is energy.
Everything is energy.
We are energy.
We are
Our
energy.
bodies are energy.
Everything is energy. And I want to find a new magical way to say to everyone, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm a real street smart spiritual type of person, right? My lessons in spirituality have been really don't go down that dark alley of fear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like metaphorically like growing up in New York.
Yeah.
But everything is energy. And what that leads to is, from your perspective, if you could talk about this, high vibes versus low vibes, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because if everything is energy, and I get an email that comes across my desk and it says something bizarre, whatever it says, I have a choice right there. Can you talk about that? Because remember, free your mind. And if we are not in that place you talk about, and then talk about in the book about expanding spiritual wisdom, every day is going to be like trudging down the road of destiny. Take it away, RiTika Rose.
Yeah. So yeah, I think when I talk about the high vibe versus low vibe, right? So, and I do a lot of this work with my clients, right? As we start expanding ourselves, as we start awakening into our true selves, right? And we start recognizing, really stepping into our own empowerment, stepping into our own power. And oh gosh, there's so many things coming to my mind right now that I want to talk about. But when it comes to like being selfish, right? Not being selfish like in an egotistical way, but being selfish about your self-care, your self-worth, things that are supporting you in your human experience level, on your spiritual level, etc. Right? As we start expanding, we start realizing that it's really important to take care of ourselves, right? And keeping those vibes high in our life, people, work, surroundings, etc., are going to be really important to keep your grounding, to keep your peace, to keep your balance, right? As you're doing the growth, right? Because anything that's low is going to keep pulling you down. Right. So when I talk about the high vibes versus low vibes, it's and those of us that are really expanded spiritually and consciously, right? We have come to the understanding of laying our boundaries, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just knowing yourself and knowing your values enough and really standing in your integrity to create the boundaries that you need to keep operating at an optimal level, right? Yep. That's our high vibe, to keep operating it in your higher self. That's the high vibe, your higher self. We want to operate from here up, love up onward, right?
Yeah.
And then I can get in the chakra system, but that's a whole other conversation. But from like love upward, right? Yep. Love, communication, your intuition, and your spiritual self, and your connection to your higher self and to your higher power, right? Everything here down here is like ego, and those are lower vibes, right? And that's where fear, the anxiety, the depression, all those things come in. So and the more people start doing this work, we can start recognizing and becoming aware of it more quickly, right? And more consciously, like, okay, something is happening down here that's pulling me down, keeping me at a low vibe. What do I got to do to raise myself back up? So let's take a look at the people in our lives. Let's take a look at our job environment. Let's take a look at our home environment. Let's take a look at your own self-care. Are you really taking care of yourself? What do you need to do? Do you need to go to the ocean? Do you need to go on a meditative walk in the forest? Like, what is it that you need to do to keep yourself high, right? So keeping your surroundings and your people clean and clear of energy, positive energy that you need to keep yourself here. Otherwise, we pull ourselves down.
Yeah, we pull ourselves down. And one of the things I really want to talk with you about in the conversation of pulling ourselves down, what is the impact of that? And, let's have a conversation about what the impact of that is now. When we pull ourselves down, we don't really know the impact of it. And let's just talk about that for a minute. We have studies, we have science, we have known this for as long as I can remember. Whether it's been in my corporate job or going back to school, what we have known and what has been studied ad nausea. And let's just use organizations if we could for a minute, because you and I both know about corporate organizations, don't we?
Yeah.
The top sales groups in corporate America, not even internationally, I'm just going to say internationally, the top sales groups have one thing in common: high vibrational energy. Now, putting aside the skill sets, yes, but they have something in their consciousness that is so important. And you cover it in the book. You also cover it when you talk about spiritual wisdom. They live in the world of possibilities and not in the world of probabilities. And so can we talk for a minute about the steps, right, that you've learned, especially as you and I have been in the corporate environment? There are a lot of things we've learned. There are successes perhaps that we've had in those environments that could not be quantified by the vice president's checklist of things that you did or didn't do. Yeah. Success beyond imagination. And each of us probably have stories like that. But I want to ask you this. You know, in the book, you talk about expanding spiritual wisdom. Let's talk about why that's important and really linked to and key to everything is energy.
Yeah, and I think because if I start going through all the steps, it will take up a chunk of time. But I think,
and you're going to have your own show, and you're going to be able to do all of that.
Yeah,
when you
but
start
I think the key thing for me is, and I talk about this because these were actually the steps that I was using when I was going through those three heavy experiences all at the same time, right? 2011, the top of 2011, January. But it was these 8 steps that I wrote in this book that was really helping me to, you know, to keep my balance, to stay grounded, to stay at peace in that healthcare leadership role and environment, and dissolving this business partnership, and also healing from, you know, my other relationships. So, but it all came down to truth, my truth, right? This is why the Awaken Your Truth show is so important. And the first chapter of my book is truth, because really what happened to me, or happened for me, and what really supported me, and then with the book is really in a progression, because it starts with your truth, and then everything else after that is literally like a structured sort of in progression of how you finally internally transform, because the tagged your are the 8 steps, the it is the internal transformation. So it started with my truth. The more I started recognizing my truth and operating through it, and knowing that I was absolutely okay with it, and accepting myself for my truth, the more I started recognizing everyone else's truth, accepting them and where they are. And then, because in the second chapter, A is acceptance, right? But it was really like that standing in my truth, knowing my own power, right? Accepting myself for all of who I am, which is what to help keep me grounded, and not questioning or double guessing myself, right? Because sometimes when we're in these leadership roles, or we're in these large corporate environments, we can second guess ourselves, right? Because we have so many voices coming in, you know, especially when, and I was dealing with like 140 human lives, you know, and then plus all of my directors and things like that. So you have all these voices coming in, but what was my truth? What was right to me? What was my intuition telling me? Right? What could I accept about myself and my inner knowing, my absolute inner knowing that I was making the right decisions. I was having the right conversations. I was leading my staff and managing my folks correctly. I was advocating for my patients accordingly. It was because I knew my truth was on point, right? And I accepted that, and I followed that intuitively with everything. And then I also was able to just very intuitively take a look at other people and see what their truth was, and just lead the days on like that, and really keep grounded in balance as we were going. And then, you know, and after the commercial break, we'll probably get into the other steps, but then everything just sort of progressed after that. So I think the biggest spiritual wisdom piece really comes from our truth. Mm-hmm. Right? Because then when you're operating in your truth, and you know, oh boy, then you stop guessing. You stop double guessing yourself, and you stop all the voices that are coming in, right? Mm-hmm. And you just operate in integrity of the decisions that you feel are right for you in that moment.
This is the conversation for our time. I want to take a short break, but before we do, one of the things I'd love to talk with you about is, how do people find out about you? And also, we have a giveaway today too, but please take a moment. Let's tell people about the book we keep referencing, how they can work with you, how they can find out about you. And when we come back from break, we are going to talk about how this message couldn't have been timed more perfectly for where we are today. I mean, it's as if RiTika Rose had a crystal ball and said, I'm going to really talk about this in 2021 because right now people are really needing to understand how to really navigate the waters of everything is energy. How do we find out about you? Tell us about the book. Tell us about how people can work with you.
Before commercial break. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. So, please go to my website, RiTikaRose.com. All of the information of the show, the book, all of my links can be found there. Yes, we're going to have a free giveaway, 2 free giveaways. Please also another giveaway I'd like to have is please contact me for your free consultation about how you can work with me to help you step into your most powerful life, to help you become the leader of your own life, for you to really become aware of your truth so you can live and operate life at its most optimal level.
Yeah.
And we'll get more, we'll talk more about this after the commercial break, I'm sure, on a much.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I love about this, and one of the things I love about what you're doing, especially when people go to your site, what they're going to see when they go to RiTikaRose.com, they're going to see really an invitation. And we're going to see a conversation that's about your life. And what if you knew how to redefine it? 2 days ago, I mentioned Jane Fonda. And I mentioned Jane Fonda and reflecting upon the day I met her. And what I reflected upon is looking at this woman, doesn't matter what you think about Jane or what her beliefs are, but I'm watching this woman, 82 years old, fighting for climate change. Now, this is not a conversation about climate change, but think about your life redefined. Think about your life and what is the truth for you? And are you ready to awaken it? And yes, I know she was arrested a couple months ago for protesting, but I'm telling you, that was not the first time. And then I'm not telling all y'all to go out there and get arrested. What I'm saying to you is what's awakening inside of you. When we come back, that and more with RiTika Rose. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I am so thrilled. I get to introduce all of you to RiTika Rose. Awaken Your Truth. Get ready for her upcoming show on Transformation Talk Radio. These are going to be about conscious dialogues that do what? That free your mind, that heal your life, that embody your power. Beyond all of that, it is amazing to think about the power and potential each of us has within us. But what gets in our way sometimes? I know what's gotten in my way, and you're looking at it right here. I've gotten in my way. But thanks to all of you, and thanks to the amazing people like RiTika Rose, every day I get to have these conversations and I get to learn. RiTika, again, can we just let folks know, one, about you, your upcoming show, and also about your free consultations? And we're going to give a copy of the book away.
Yes. So just once again, hi, everybody. RiTika Rose. I'm an integrative life coach, where I really work with you to integrate your emotional, physical, and spiritual self so you can live at your optimal potential and really operate in integrity of yourself. And I would love if you'd like to know further about how to work with me and how to really awaken to your truth, and really start integrating all aspects of your life so you can finally feel free, so you can finally feel powerful, so you can finally feel aligned with your life and your purpose for your life. Please reach out to me. Go to RiTikaRose.com and schedule your free consultation with my calendar link in the contact tab. And please do order your book. There's the ebook or Kindle version on Amazon, also the paperback, depending on how you prefer your readings. Go ahead and order either of those, and we look forward to giving away one book free today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do hope it's a handbook on life. It's a short read, but it's packed with a punch, and there's a lot of important wisdom in there that even when people have read the book, feel like they've been transformed just reading it. So imagine doing 3 months of coursework with me.
Oh yeah.
From the book, right? We dive in really deep and really, really help to shift your life into the most powerful way of living. So
And people will understand the meaning of tag Tourette. And that's what I want to start out with. You know, Benny, let's go ahead and give a copy of the book away. 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. We're also taking your questions for RiTika, please. You know, when I was reading the book, I love kind of right out of the gate how you just get at it. It says, I'm here today to tell you that you've been tagged and you're it.
Yeah.
Now is your time to become consciously awakened to your true authentic self that otherwise may be holding you back. Oh, what? Your true authentic self that otherwise may be holding you back. And so as you went on to write about this, you and I have talked about this, you talk about our previous lives, but the bottom line is this. Here's what you asked us to entertain. This is why I say I am getting nowhere without the 5 coaches I have. People look at me, RiTika, and they're, well, first of all, these are 5 formal coaches, but then I have all of you.
Right.
I have all of you.
Thank you
I
for
can
saying
talk
that.
to
I love that.
any one of you. I could call
Everyone
you,
is our
RiTika.
teacher.
I could call you and I could say, okay, look, here's where I am. Can you imagine? So here's what you're asking, because this is the journey that I used to take alone. See, I thought I didn't need anybody because I grew up not really needing parents.
Right.
And not really having them.
Right.
And so, you know, here I am today, and I'm thinking, when did I realize I'm not alone, and nor can I do it alone, nor do I want to? Here's what you ask. My inner and outer worlds were not connected, which no one could see or understand. Do you ever feel that way? Are you detached from other people's opinions, including your own? Or are you so connected to those opinions that you can't come to a place of living and being your true self? Are you angry? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Do you take accountability for your life, its happiness, and you're in a peace? Or do you allow your peace and happiness to be dictated by the ideas and concerns of others? When did you become unhappy, distrusting, cynical towards your life and your world? When did you learn it was not okay just to be you? Wow.
Yeah. Thank you for taking that excerpt.
Wow. Like, I'm thinking, okay, I got to figure out when that was and how did I snap out of it? But these are the underpinnings of our lives today. You know, people are at a very unfamiliar place right now. And your book and your courses is helping us navigate these waters. Talk about, for us, what that's like for you, what the programs can do, what you're learning in your coaching program that could help people, one, get answers to those questions, and then navigate to a new place.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think, and I love that excerpt that you picked out from the book, because
Shocking.
I think the loneliest place we can feel is when we feel like no one sees us or understands us or gets us, right? We can be surrounded by hundreds, even thousands of people, right? But you still feel so lonely inside because you feel like no one truly sees you or gets you or understands you, right? So at the top of my website, it says, I see you, I get you, I understand you. That's the first thing at the top of my website. I literally feel, and I feel like God has led me to experience probably almost everything in this lifetime, whether it was me personally or through a loved one, on purpose, because he knew I was going to be doing this work. He knew I was going to be healing people. But if I didn't experience it myself, how am I able to support you, right? You want to work with someone that really understands what you're going through, right? That really does see you, that really does get you, right? And so when I ask those questions in the book, it's really, I reflect on, again, like, it comes down to their surroundings, right? Taking an assessment of their life. So working with me, one, starts with an assessment of your life. And I created a life fulfillment assessment. And so the first thing in my program, when you work with me, is we go through this assessment. We answer these questions, and it's a really deep dive into where your life is right now and why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right? We sort of take a tally and a percentage of where your life is right now, how satisfied you are. Then the next step is really, it's my values assessment. So we really dive into your values, What are your values? Are you operating through them? What violates you? Are you creating your boundaries around that? And then we dive into your truth. So we take those first 3 steps are the most important things in understanding and really beginning this new transformation and starting this journey and then into this new transformed life, right? Yeah. It's really understanding where your life is right now and why, because there's a root cause to everything. Yep. Why is this happening, right? But again, not why is it happening to you? Why is it happening for you? And then we dive into your value. Who are you? What are your values? Are you operating in your values, or are you operating with the values around the other people that's keeping you lonely and frustrated and angry because those aren't your values? But you're going through the motions with society or with people or whatever it is, whatever your surroundings are, that are not aligned with you. Again, it all comes back. I do this a lot because this is the integration. It's not aligned with you, right? You want to integrate your full self. Then you step into your truth and you start going, okay, these are my values. This is what's happening in my life. Now, what is my truth? Who am I? Who am I really? And then we start operating in that. And then I take you through the journey over the next like 10, 11 weeks with me of really then taking all of that and then learning all the other life mastery skills that I talk about. Mm-hmm. And these sessions, they're ongoing. They're once a week, but they're deep dives into each lesson in each chapter in the book and each skill in the book. And it's very personalized. Now, while this is a structured program, but it's very personal to you because every human being is different. Yeah. Your experience is going to be different than mine. Like we talked about this on the last show. We may have experienced this same thing, but our experience of it will be different. Yeah. Right. And so then it's very personalized to you and your life and who's in your life and what's going on in your life. And then helping you heal all of those different areas and those layers. We're healing all of those layers till we finally get you to the last chapter of responsibility, taking responsibility of your own life, becoming the leader of your own life. And then that's where the internal transformation comes in. Because now you start walking into the world and stepping into the world, your full, authentic, true self. Yeah. Right. Because then you start bringing in the people and then those people, and you start creating a life that is aligned and integrated for you. Right. And sometimes that is letting go of other things and letting go of other people and then bringing in the new ones. Yeah. Right.
I got to tell you, this is so right on. And I want to tell everybody, yes, and the book is, thank you, Benny. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, RiTika, for the giveaway in the book. Thank you. One of our fabulous audiences received it. One of the things that I really love about what you just described to me, may I say this? In the world we live in, somewhere along the line, and I don't remember what year I picked it up. I don't know where it was, but it was back. Somebody embedded in my brain that transformation and change could take a lifetime. Mm-hmm. Now, what we've learned is that that's not true. Right. We can create instantaneous change in a moment. Now, is it going to get us to the ultimate place we want to go? There are some people where it does. There are some people where something will happen and that will change their lives, right? I love the chicken soup of the soul story with those people, Jack and Mark. And I got to interview Jack and Mark. And when they told their story, and I interviewed them like a long time ago, when they told their story about being rejected, like 100 and something times, rejected, the chicken soup book. They were almost done. They were going to give up. Jack Canfield was on the verge of bankruptcy, right? Going home and saying, oopsie, yeah, this chicken thing, soup thing. But what you just described and those steps, that's what they did. See, that's what they really did. That's what they did. And I wish when they talked about this, they would have described the steps as beautifully as you did, because what you just described for people is a pathway. It is literally a yellow brick road. Because I love that you're laying out a yellow brick road, because along the road, we're going to run into the scarecrows. We're going to run into the lions. We're going to run into a whole bunch of things, and we're not going to know how to navigate them. And what I love about what you talk about in the book is this unhappy experiences in life that could lead to conflict of body and soul. And without an awakening or a guide like yourself, we can't pinpoint them.
Right.
So when people say, just change.
I've heard that before. I mean, feedback is all, and so this is something I talk about in the book too, is receiving feedback, right? The importance of that. So when we hear things like that from other people, but I learned this, right? You learn not to get triggered by something like that. You learn to just hear it and then reflect on it, because people are experiencing us in a certain way, right? But then we get to pick up on that and see whether that's an experience we want to shift about ourselves, how we're showing up. Do we really mean to be that way? Or is that ourselves and we're okay being that way, and those people just aren't aligned with us? Now that's a much deeper conversation that I dive into in my coaching practice, right? I can't get into it on this particular show, but maybe other shows. But again, if that's your truth, right? So are those people just not aligning with you, or is that something you get to take a look at? You're like, I didn't mean to show up that way. Let me do a little bit of inner work and see how it can show up a different way, right? So again, it's very personal to everybody, just based on their experiences and who they are. But that's where the coaching comes in and the mentorship comes in, right? Is to really dive into these things, And
let me ask you this question too, because when I think about this particular journey of where we are and where we want to go, I'm really struck by the core element of success, the core element of free your mind. And, we're going to talk more about this in future shows, right? But what we're really driving home today, and the point we're driving home today, is yes, you may have awakening, but do we know how they heal our lives, right? Can we talk to that now?
Yeah.
Because that's like an end game in a lot of ways. It's easier to walk down a paved road than it is to walk in mud. Right?
Yeah.
Or it's easier to run in a track field than try to run on the beach. And by the way, I know about running on the beach because I had a coach that's what he made me do. And I just could not stand it.
Yeah.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't it lovely when you're running through mud instead of a track, when you're running and you're running and you're running and you get through the thick of it, out of the deepness, out into the light, right? But you made it through. You survived.
Exactly.
Right? It did not knock you down.
Exactly.
It just made you better. Did this. It made you stronger, right? And so yes, these awakenings, whether they're profound awakenings or whether they're tiny awakenings, we can have little tiny awakenings.
Exactly.
Like every day they're little tiny awakenings, right? And that's why the feedback and reflection is so important, right? Because those aha moments, right? Yeah. We call them aha. So sometimes we just get these little tiny aha moments wherever we are. It's like, oh, but that just awakened you to look at something in a different way, whether you looked at yourself in a different way, whether you looked at that person in a different way, whether you looked at that circumstance in a different way, right? So it can be a little awakening, or it can be a super profound one like you and I have had and many others have had, right? And so, but it's those awakenings that do heal our lives, right? Because then we are really, I know I always keep coming down to the truth, but the truth is the core of who I am. So I can't step away from truth and love, because that's just who RiTika Rose is. So, but that really is the healing. It's everything I teach and everything I do within my practice and everything that the show is going to be about. So please stay tuned as the show continues on, is coming back to your truth, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you heal. If you're not, so my motto is we can't operate at our full potential if we can't operate from integrity of self. That's one of my coaching mottos. So if you're not operating from integrity of self, if you're not operating in your truth, your life is not going to be operating at its optimal potential. And then you're always going to feel stuck.
Yeah.
But the healing comes from being alive and being in your truth, whoever that is for you. And we can't be everything for everybody. That's another thing that's really important to remember, right? You can just be the best version of you, right? So when we try and be everything for everybody, or we that's also where we start getting stuck and we start spiraling, right? Because we're not operating in our truth. So our truth may not align with somebody else, and that's okay. And that's where we learn to detach. And that's the D part of the tag, right? Then we go into detachment. And what does detachment mean for you individually? You know, etc. Right? But we learn that that's okay. We learn that it's okay to not have all these people around us where we're feeling more lonely, instead of just having maybe the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people that really truly love us and get us and accept us and understand us, where we feel most alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can just be ourselves, fully and freely ourselves. And there's no judgment. There's no fear about showing up, just being you and having a conversation or doing what you need with those people, because it's pure love.
Yeah.
And pure acceptance.
And by the way, I just want people to know is that tag you're it has powerful meaning too. And it speaks 100%. To what you just said.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. You know, I love in the book where you have a quote and you say, no one is you, and that is your power.
Yep.
And that is the conversation under truth. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
And what's so important about the conversation under truth and about what we're talking about is that in the world we're living in today, we cannot be discouraged from the pathway that fills our heart. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? We have this place we can go. And yet I know this at the very core of who I am. None of it happens without one of the other core elements you mentioned. And mm-hmm. may I mention it here today? Sure. Because there's a reason that TAG has a meaning. It's an acronym. But I want to get to this one where you emphasize out of the gate gratitude. Mm-hmm. And gratitude has an energetic and a profound vibrational component. Mm-hmm. Everything in our world has the ability to be fully expressed in gratitude. The good, the bad, the ugly, the unseen, and the seen. That was an important pivotal point for you, wasn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, first, you're operating in your truth. You're starting to accept yourself, but then you're starting to see the truth about other people and accepting them. But then, whether it is good or bad or whatever it is, you remember, because everything is happening for a purpose and everything's happening for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like I always say, everything is happening on purpose, and everything has a reason, right? Mm-hmm. For us to learn. So whether it's a good experience for you, a bad experience for you, we just find gratitude in it, because it's teaching us something about ourselves, or it's teaching us something about others. And in the end, it's always on purpose for you. Whatever it is, it's always on purpose for you.
Yeah. And, let's talk about how we get there, if we could. How we get there. And there are going to be many shows that you're going to be doing to help us get there. Mm-hmm. And you gave us some of the steps today. And in these last couple minutes, one of the things I just want, you to reiterate and talk about is, first of all, you don't have to take the journey alone.
Absolutely not.
So let's have a minute of conversation about that, and then let folks know how they can not take the journey alone and get some help from you. But this is a hard lesson in life for me. When I realized I didn't have to take the journey alone, my gosh, everything changed. Everything changed.
Right. And it goes back to, a few minutes ago when we were talking about the loneliness factor, right? We can tend to feel so alone again when we feel like we don't have people to understand us. So, or are not aligned with our purpose in this life. And that's where we start to feel lost and confused, right? So again, at the top, when life feels lost, broken, or confused, I help you find your way. That's my purpose. I want you to find your way in this lifetime. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to take this journey alone. Literally, I've been given the calling to be that guide and mentor for people, to help you find your truth, to help you align to your true self, to help you integrate and redefine life on your terms. So you finally are feeling free and happy and joyful, and most importantly, meaningful in this human experience you're having.
Yeah.
In this lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to feel alone, and you're actually not alone, because we're all here to support you, but you're feeling alone right now because you just don't have the right people in your life. Right. So once you start incorporating the right people in your life, once you start working with the people that you can trust and support you, right? And as coaches, like all coaches really, and I always tell my clients this too, I am your biggest cheerleader. I am literally here to help you with your goals and whatever that is for you, but I'm also here to lovingly hold you accountable to your best self.
Yeah.
And to lovingly hold you accountable for the best decisions of your life. Ultimately, it's going to be your choice what you do, but because I'm well versed and well experienced and highly intuitive, with the next steps, and that is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help guide you, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to help guide you into really living your best, most honest, truthful life, and a life that feels purposeful and meaningful to you, right? I want to help you release the anxiety and depression that you're feeling from your lack of self-worth, from your lack of self-esteem. I want you to stop going down the rabbit hole of self-sabotage and self-defeat. I want to help you lift up, right, into your most authentic, powerful self.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to do. That's what my program does. All my work that I do, my healing service, whether you're in my healing service or whether you're in my program or whether you're just doing individual sessions with me, everything is based around that. Again, my services are there. That's why the free consultations are so important, right? Is please get on a phone call with me so you know which service works best for you.
Yeah.
So I have a few different things for people based on what's aligned with you most, right?
Yeah. It's not a one size fits all. And that's why I wanted you to share this in the closing time we have, because this is what I learned, and I learned it the hard way. I bought the off the shelf coaching packages. I mean, I literally went through this because I was so hungry to ease the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I was so hungry, to be thinking, have I really gone through this part of my life to really do this? And yet I knew on the inside I was called to do more.
Yeah.
And what you're helping us with is you're helping us. We are all called to do more, and we are all called to do more about what's inside of us.
Right.
More of that awakening, more self-expression, more confidence, right? More abundance, more connection, more spirituality. And that's, RiTika Rose, what you do in helping people with your program. I can't thank you enough. What is your parting words of wisdom, your personal message for us today?
I think the most important thing is to know that you are really not alone, right? And you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to get through this by yourself. Even if you feel like you've done the work before. I have many clients that have been in therapy for years, but they still feel like something is not moving and shaking inside of them. And then they find me and we dive deeper, and they start to heal and transform on these deeper inner levels that they weren't receiving before. So just know that it's okay, even though you feel like you're doing the work currently or you have done the work. It doesn't mean that we don't need to continue to have support and guidance along our ways from our mentors, right? That can help us maybe see something in a different light, with a different perspective that we maybe didn't get 5 years ago, that maybe we need now, right? Because we're constantly learning and growing. This is our lifetime. This is what we're here to do. We never stop learning. We never stop growing. We're not meant to. So if you're just in a new phase or new journey or new transition in your life, and you're looking to transform from place of A and you want to go to place to Z, please reach out and contact me. This is my life's work, and I'm so blessed to be able to do this.
I love it. RiTika Rose, everybody go over and check it out. RiTikaRose.com. RiTika is going to be back. We're not finished with the trilogy. And then we're going to tell you about what it means to fully step in the world and launch your message globally. Thank you, RiTika. All right, everybody. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to Awaken Your Truth with me, RiTika Rose. I hope that you heard something today that sparked a shift in your perspective to free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. The world needs love, acceptance, togetherness, and belonging. My hope is to be a contributing force towards the new world we need to create together. If each of us can awaken our truth and live with more empathy and authenticity, that shift will radiate. Spread the word and tune in next time for more conscious dialogues of healing and transformation on Transformation Talk Radio and Awaken Your Truth with RiTika Rose on YouTube and across all podcast stations. For more information about how to work with me, please visit RiTikaRose.com.